Hello and welcome. This is your girl Arlu, and you just tapped into Arlu Ready, the Happiness Coach podcast, your premier destination for insightful discussions on strength, resilience, and wisdom. Join me as I embark on a journey through the essential elements of personal growth, from goal setting to positivity, relationships to resilience, and everything in between. With precision and clarity, I will offer actionable advice to help you thrive in all aspects of your life. Get ready to elevate your understanding and embark on a transformative journey of intellectual discovery. This is where professionalism meets enlightenment and knowledge finds its voice. Are you ready?
This podcast is not intended to replace professional medical advice and for informational purposes only. No legal health, tax, or religious advice should be considered. Our Lou Ready Podcast Happiness and Life Coaching LLC is not responsible for any losses, damages, or liabilities that may arise from the use of this podcast. The views expressed in this podcast may not be those of the host or guest speakers. To steer clear of copyright issues, kindly contact Our Lou Ready Podcast Happiness and Life Coaching LLC via email at rlouhappy2@gmail.com if you want to utilize any content.
Hey, it's your girl Arlu. So on the last segment, we talked about empowering yourself. And I discussed methods and ways you can empower yourself, about being around the right people who want to see your growth and want to empower you and will receive your words of empowerment to them. This particular segment, and I want to just remind people that season 2 of Arlu Ready, the Happiness Coach podcast, my goal is to tie in more things that can help people in the workplace, right? Because I feel like there's that cry for help where people need to know, how to improve professionalism, how to set goals, how to empower their teams, right? Because leadership often doesn't do, I'm not going to say a good job, or maybe they don't know the depths and the rewards of empowerment. I myself is the type of direct report when I'm reporting to someone that likes to build capability. After working for an organization that it was all about capability, and then also working for a hospital that allowed you to just work in different areas and transfer and just build capability. I'm all about capability, because to me, building capability actually helps me build empowerment, and it self-empowers me. So real leadership, when I talk about empowering others, I want to talk about leadership. Real leadership isn't about control, right? It's about liberation. It's about creating the space for others. That's your team members. That's your peers. That's your one up to rise, to thrive, and to lead in their own right. Okay. So you probably heard the phrase like leadership is influence, or leadership is impactfulness, but leadership is empowerment. Empowering leadership isn't about micromanaging, right? Nobody wants to be micromanaged. Some people need it. When you think about, your managing styles and your leadership styles, there may be a few in your group that may need to be micromanaged just because they're not, go-getters, or they're not self-driven. So you do kind of need to micromanage to a degree, but leadership isn't about micromanaging or doing everything yourself. There's some leaders that I've worked for or I've observed. I don't know if I've ever really had somebody that did it themselves, but people that I observe just, I'll do it. And then they later say, people tell me I should be a leader. No, that's not a really good leadership style when you feel that it can't be done right, or no one knows what they're doing but you. Like, you're the only person that can do it. You're the only person that can do it right. And no one else knows what to do. Nobody else can do it, Leadership is about developing others to the point where they can lead even without you being there. I often share that, some of my most influential, impactful, empowering leaders are the ones that I still reference today, because they have allowed me and built inside me a confidence level of empowerment and capability that continues on even when they're not around. I don't even work for them anymore, but I can always give them reference and credit to the leader that I've become or the mindset that I'm in as far as the professional space because of these people. And they're nowhere around. Some of them might not even know that I'm even giving them a shout out or kudo, right? Because they were just doing what they were doing. They were all about empowering me and empowering our group. So how do you empower somebody? Well, first you got to start with trust. You got to delegate with trust, right? You just don't take, your hands off the task or hands off ownership, but you let people make decisions. I remember working for the very first company outside the hospital, and it was a Fortune 500 company, and it is very well known, but I won't release their name. But what I loved about that company was they were all about letting us fail and figure things out. And that built trust, that built confidence, not only in me, but it also built confidence and trust in me and my leaders, because they weren't, it was a safe environment to fail, because failures help you figure things out, helps you get to a successful point. It's part of brainstorming. And that's one of the ways you delegate with trust, right? Just letting people make their decisions, giving them ownership, right? Letting them be able to show their leaders what their capabilities are in their mindset, because you got to think that's what you hired them for. You hired them to think, and you hired them to produce. You hired them to deliver. Mentor and grow others. Sometimes people, they don't want to mentor people. They just want to tell people what to do. But great leaders are also great coaches. And sometimes, me being a certified happiness coach, in my workspace, I find myself coaching my peers and my colleagues, but then I try to take a hands-off approach because I'm not their formal leader. But leaders are also great coaches. They ask questions, and these questions are more or less, what do you need to grow? If I hear this from my leader, I immediately support them. I immediately feel like they trust me. And then they start asking me questions like, where do you want to lead? Where do you want to grow? Where do you want to go? Empowering others also means celebrating strengths. And that starts with recognition. Empowerment starts with recognition. When you see someone's strength and name it, whether it's one-on-one or in a group, it immediately activates something in them. It tells them you matter and you bring value. A lot of people cannot celebrate other people's strength because they're so focused on their own weakness. And this unfortunately happens in the workplace, right? They don't want anyone else to shine or get the recognition, either unless they've gotten it first so that they can get credit for this person's, kind of piggyback off of this person's recognition. Or they have this inner lower self-confidence in the workplace that they just can't celebrate other people's strength because they haven't identified their own. Empowerment also means encourage risk and innovation. An empowered team isn't afraid to try new things. I love being innovative. I got a post-grad certificate in entrepreneurship and innovation. And I love looking at things and building off of things. And when my leaders welcome me to be innovative, it creates a place of safety for me. So, I don't like when people don't understand that every idea means something. You don't have to take it somewhere, but don't close it off, an idea or a new thing or an innovation. Don't close the door on it too soon, because it actually can deliver something of value and make an impact. So I want to talk about empowerment in your personal life. The good stuff, right? Empowerment in personal relationships is just as critical as in the workplace, right? Because sometimes these personal relationships cross over. You build business relationships with your peers, and then next thing you know, you have these personal relationships with this group of people. But empowerment in personal relationships are very, very vital, and maybe even more transformational. Whether you have a friend, a partner, sibling, parent, kids, we all have people in our lives who look to us for support. And therefore, we need to be able to empower them. And the first step of empowerment to me is, instead of telling people who they should be, reward who they are. Let them already know that they're strong, they're capable, they're worthy. Build them up before you break them down, right? And we shouldn't even really be in the business of breaking others down. We should be in the business of building people up with constructive feedback. But listen deeply. One of the most empowering things we can do without fixing anything is just listen. Just being present and really hearing someone can work wonders. Don't pressure people. Support autonomy. Give them the space to do their own thing, to make their own choices. And this could be kids, this could be a sibling, it could be a partner. Don't always hover over the individual and tell them how they should do things, right? You can give advice. And sometimes I try to be very careful with giving advice. I like people to ask for advice, because I feel like it's the most polite thing to do. Before I just start telling people, well, this is what you need to do, and you just sound like everybody else. But when you give people space, that's how they grow. Space is a necessity to growth, right? And then share what you know, share your power. Knowledge is power, and shared knowledge is empowerment. Whether it's a book, a connection, a new idea, just pass it on. And I know there's this space where people don't want to give you credit for the idea, the knowledge, or whatever. We have to let that go. As leaders, we have to just know that what we brought into that space and what is shareable will benefit and will carry on, and will reach the destination in which it's set out to be. All right, so that's it for now. Check me out for this last episode of Empowerment. And we're going to talk about empowerment for happiness. Are you ready? Thank you for tuning into Are You Ready, the Happiness Coach podcast. Your support means the world to me. If you haven't already, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my podcast for more inspiring content on happiness and life coaching. This podcast is available on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, or you can just visit my website at arlureadypodcasthappinesscoach.org. Check it out to explore additional resources and connect with the Are You Ready community. If you or anyone you know is interested in professional life coaching sessions or public speaking events, shoot me an email at rluhappy2@gmail.com. I look forward to connecting and know that your journey towards happiness and fulfillment starts here. Don't forget to leave me a review and stay tuned for my next episode where I will continue to delve into the keys to a fulfilling life. Until then, stay happy and keep thriving. Are Lou ready?